So in the previous lecture, what we saw that we can use projection operator to actually project a part of a function, which could be a random function, for with any given symmetry. So for example, we considered the case of C3V point group, right? So we used C3V point group, and under that we saw that we projected a function with E representation with such that, so we took a function xz plus yz plus z square, and we use projection operator to project part of this function onto E, so that that part, which is basically xz plus yz, forms a basis of E irreducible representation, right? This is what we saw, and in that case we considered complete projection operator. So what was complete projection operator? Because we calculated the projection operator and we calculated for E representation, and then we took out individual matrix elements, right? So for example, 1 matrix element, 2 and so on. So this was the projection operator which we applied. So in general, if we write the complete projection operator, the formula stands like this. So you have Pj or I, any ith or jth irreducible representation. So you have a typical matrix element, and that when operated onto a given function, let's say phi I, this gives you Lj times Lj over h times summation over all R, and then you have the corresponding matrix element under the symmetry operation R. So the matrix element will be S prime T prime, and for jth representation, and if it is a complex number, then complex conjugate of that, and then the operator R applied onto, and this part is called as complete projection operator. This is the expression for projection operator. So now let us see how we can obtain the similar result by handling using incomplete projection operator. So let us see what is incomplete projection operator. So although it is incomplete, but it gives you the similar result or same result with slight human intervention. Okay, so now in this case, if you notice that we are dealing with all the individual matrix elements of all these representations. So for example, if for jth representation under any particular symmetry element, we are always multiplying the corresponding matrix element with the effect of operation R onto a given function, right? So this thing requires the knowledge of full matrix for all symmetry operations. Whereas if we want to work with traces, if we want to work with trace of this matrix, we use incomplete projection operator. Now let's see how do we get from here, from complete projection operator to incomplete. So because we want to work with traces, so and traces deal with only diagonal elements, so we need to talk about only diagonal elements. So this one deals with all elements. So for diagonal elements, we can say for diagonal only elements, we can say that the index S prime is equal to T prime, right? So I can substitute, I can equate S prime to T prime and only worry about the diagonal elements. So in that case, the projection operator becomes Pj T prime T prime, and now I will only write the expression of this and not the function form, okay? Not this phi functions. So Lj h summation over all r, and I have tau r, so t prime of jth representation and star, and then I have r vector. Okay, this is the operator. Now to obtain the trace here, what we need is we need to carry out a summation over all t, right? So now introduce, so taking summation over all the values of t prime, which is nothing but different values of these phi functions, right? Because phi functions vary from different values of t or s, right? So if we do that, we have summation over all t prime pj t prime. Now this can be equated to, we can write it as, now there is no matrix element because now this is the complete trace of what we are going to get. So in complete projection operator, you will often see that there are indices written, which indicates that it's a complete projection operator. If there are no indices written, that means it's a trace and we are dealing with incomplete projection. Okay, so now if we go there, so we have summation over t prime Lj over h summation over all r tau r t prime jth representation star operator r. Now this summation t prime can be taken inside because this is the only term which is dependent on t prime. So hence we can take this summation inside and expand it. So what we will get is Li over h summation over all r summation over all t prime, and what I get is tau r t prime j star r cap, right? Now if I do this summation, what do I get? So this is nothing but a matrix element with these summation over all diagonals, right? This is this, right? So I can say that if I take summation over all t, this becomes the trace of this matrix, right? So all I have now is Li over h summation over all r. So instead of tau r, now we have chi r, right? This is the trace under this operation, symmetry operator for jth representation, and then you have r operator, right? And this is my expression for incomplete projection operator. Okay, so this is incomplete projection operator. So now that is easy. So because now we don't have to worry about all the matrix elements that we were multiplying, we saw in the last example. Let us take the same example and see if we get the same result using incomplete projection operator or not. So let us now apply incomplete projection operator to the same function, which was xz plus yz plus z square. So even though we are taking incomplete projection operator, but the summation over all r still stands over all r, and we cannot leave the class elements, because effect of this symmetry operation, different symmetry operators are different, even though they belong to same class, but their effect can still be different. So let us see that. We have C3V example, E representation, E 2 C3 3 sigma V, right? even though we are writing the traces like this. So it was 2 minus 1 0. I hope this is correct. Yes. So now let us try to calculate projection of this function onto E representation, which is represented like this: projection of xz plus yz plus z square onto E representation. So now this should give you Li will be, so this is I or j. Lj here is 2, order is 6. Now effect of E, so here we will be multiplying with the character, which is chi r. The character under E is 2, and then what we'll be multiplying it with. So let us write down effect of operator E onto x onto the function. So let us do this completely because we did not do that calculation completely. So let's just do this one complete calculation. So we have -1, which is the character under C3, and effect of operation C3 onto xz plus yz plus z square. Again, -1, which is now the character under C3 square. So we have C3 square operator onto xz plus yz plus z square. Okay. Similarly, we have sigma v1. So the character under sigma v1 is 0, right? So 0 into sigma v1 operator onto the function, plus again the character is, see now look at the advantage here, because when we were dealing with matrix element, we had to do with all 4 matrix elements of this. But here now the trace is 0. So basically that does not contribute to the calculation at all. Sigma v2 in the function plus 0 into sigma v3 the function, and the bracket, this bracket is closed, right? So now these functions, these symmetry operators are coming because you have r cap over here. That means this r has to operate onto the function. This chi is coming as here, that there are characters coming over here, right? All these characters under the symmetry operation r, and then you have li and h, right? Okay, so now let's try to solve this and see what do we get. So we have p e xz plus yz plus z square, and you have 2 by 6, 2 into xz plus yz plus z square minus 1 minus of, now effect of E onto this remains same. Now effect of C3 onto this we had calculated in the last lecture. So I'm just going to note down what do we get here. So effect of C3 will be minus half 1 minus root 3 xz minus half 1 plus root 3 yz plus z square. Okay, and similarly we will get negative sign and then effect of C3 square onto this. So effect of C3 square is minus half 1 plus root 3 xz, and we'll have plus half root 3 minus 1 yz plus z square, and then you have big bracket closed, right? So now if you solve this, what do you get? So if we solve this, we will see that there are 2 xz over here, and what other xz are coming. So you have minus half, minus half, and then you have minus root 3. So plus root 3, minus root 3 and plus root 3 will be cancelled. So you will have minus half coming from here and minus half coming from here. So they will be adding up. So you will have 2xz from here and minus xz from here, right? So 1xz will come. Okay. So in the same way, if you keep on doing this, you're going to notice. So let's not spend time on this calculation because now it's just a simple algebra. So if we see that PE xz plus yz plus z square gives you xz plus yz, which was what we obtained from, if you remember that we obtained this from PE11 and PE22, right? So we obtained this one and this one, or vice versa. So one of them gave you xz and one of them gave you yz. Let me see if which one gave, yeah, one gave you xz and two gave you yz, right? So now if we want to normalize, so this is not yet normalized. So after normalization, you have PE is equal to 1 over root 2 xz plus yz. So now this is the normalized set of function which has symmetry, which transforms as E representation of C3V point group, right? So all we have done is we have applied incomplete projection operator only once, and that has simplified the calculation a lot as compared to what we were doing when we were doing complete projection operator, right? So now that we are well versed with how projection operator calculation works, so we'll see how to calculate SALCs from a given set of atomic orbitals, right? So remember we discussed that there are a set of atomic orbitals which upon linear combination gives you a set of functions which will form basis for irreducible representation if we combine them in a appropriate manner. So that process can be done by projection operator. Why do we need to do that process? Because such combined atomic orbitals will form the acceptable solutions for the Hamiltonian equation or the Hamiltonian operator, right? Or the energy equation. So let's see how to do this thing. So by taking an example, so let's take a different example than C3V now. Let's take water. That also is easy and we have been working on that. So now in this case, let us take basis set function as one s A and 1s B, which is nothing but s orbitals of hydrogen. Okay, so we are taking s orbitals of, let's say this is A, this is B, and now we are taking s orbitals of this hydrogen, which are oriented something like this because these are spherical in nature. These are now taken as basis set, and now we will try to combine them in a appropriate linear combination and see that if we can obtain, using projection operator, if we can obtain linear combinations which are symmetry adapted. What do I mean by symmetry adapted? That they are basis of a certain irreducible representation of C2V point group, which is the water point group, right? So what we are going to do is, aim is we will construct suitable. So this is a very simple example. We'll see, we'll take more complex examples later. This is a very simple one to see. Linear combinations of 1s orbitals of hydrogen such that resulting combination transforms according to some IR. So we don't care about which IR, but some IR of the symmetry point group, C2V. Of water. Okay. So now first what we have to do is with 1SA, 1SB, we have to create a reducible representation under C2V. How do we do that? That is very simple, and we have seen that. So if we apply E onto 1SA, 1SB, what do we get? We get the same matrix back. This implies that E can be written as 2 cross 2 matrix of 2 cross 2 unit matrix, right? Similarly, we can say that C2Z can be written as, we have done that earlier, so I'm not going to do this for all the operations. 0, 1, 1, 0, because 1SA and 1SB are now replaced with each other. Sigma, let's call it as YZ, and that will be 1, 0, 0, 1. And sigma XZ, the matrix come out to be 0, 1, 1, 0. All right. So once we have obtained the reducible representation using the basis set of functions, we have to reduce this to component IRs, right? So this means what we can say is C2V. Let us write the E character table. C2Z, sigma YZ, sigma XZ, and this is our tau 1SA, 1SB. Okay. And the traces are, now this is 2, this is 0, 2, 0. Okay. So now we can say that tau 1SA, 1SB can be reduced into A1 times A1 plus A2 times A2 plus A3 times B1 plus A4 times B2. What are these A1, A2, B1, B2? These are the Mulliken symbols for the irreducible representations of C2V point group. So I'm not going to write the character table of C2V point group, but we can see that these are the 4 irreducible representations C2V has. So this particular tau, which is the reducible representation, would be a linear combination of these irreducible representations where A1, A2, A3, A4 can be determined using AI can be determined using reduction formula. So go back and see what is reduction formula. This was 1 over h and okay, let's just write it down. So you have AI 1 over h and summation over all r, chi AB of r and chi I of r. this is the trace of reducible representation, this is the trace of irreducible representation. You multiply the two and then take summation over all R, divide by the order of the group, and you will get AI, right? So if we do this for this particular tau, what we get, 1s b, what we get is a1 plus b1. So we see that this small a1 is equal to 1 and this a3 is equal to 1. A2 and a4 goes to 0. So that's why there is no contribution of a2 and b2 towards this one, right? So what we get here is only a1 plus b1. Now let us see what happens if we apply projection operator, and we will use only incomplete projection operator because we have the traces only. I mean, we do have matrices, but we are not going to do the complete because it takes more time and gives you the same thing. Applying incomplete projection operator. So let's see how do we do that. So we have what we can do is we can either apply projection onto A1 or onto B1 because both of them contribute to this, right? So basically what we will get is we will get one linear combination corresponding to A1, another corresponding to B1. Now this can be applied onto either 1SA or it can also be applied to 1SB. Okay. So we are going to apply 1SA onto A1. What do we get? So L is 1, H is 4, and the corresponding matrix element for A1 for all of them will be 1. Now E operator onto 1SA plus 1 into, this is the trace C2Z operator onto 1SA plus sigma YZ operator onto 1SA. This is of course 1 into plus 1 into sigma XZ operator onto 1SA, right? Now this gives me 1 by 4 1SA. C2Z will replace this thing, so we'll get 1SB. Sigma YZ will also replace, so we'll see what happened here. Sigma YZ will remain same, so we'll get 1SA. Sigma XZ will replace, so we'll get 1SB, right? Now this can be written as 1 by 2 1SA plus 1SB, right? And upon normalization we can say that this can be 1 by root 2 1SA plus 1SB. This is after normalization. Okay. So these are now normalized. Now this linear combination of 1SA and 1SB transforms as A1 representation of C2V point group, right? That means they will form basis for A1 representation. So now we know the symmetry of this, that this is what is the symmetry of this under C2V point group, right? Now let's do the same thing for B1 representation. So PB1 will on 1SA. So you can choose either of this. Either one of the function is fine. It does not matter which function you choose, you will get the same result. So again 1 over 4. You should know what are the traces for B1 representation. So we will write that. So under E it will be 1, and then you have E if on 1SA. Then for C2 it will be -1 character, and C2Z on 1SA. Then you have sigma YZ. So character under sigma YZ is again -1. So in one of cases it will be YZ, one of the cases it will be +1. Okay. So idea is that you will get a linear combination. We'll see what linear combination. So we'll have YZ, this will be XZ, right? Yeah. So sigma XZ 1SA plus 1 sigma YZ 1SA. Now this, if you do it, you will see that what you are going to get is 1SA minus 1SB. So you can see the effect of this and do this, and this upon normalization will get 1 over root 2 1SA minus 1SB, right? So these are the two linear combinations which you will get using projection operator, and now you will know the symmetry of these linear combinations. So if you randomly combine any two atomic orbitals, you will not know what is the symmetry of this, how will they transform under C2V point group, but here you know the symmetry. So that's why projection operator technique is very, very useful. So now as a proof, if you, let's say if you do projection onto the irreducible components which are not present in this reducible part. So let's say if you do it for A2 onto 1SA, or projection of 1SA onto B2. Now A2 and B2 are not forming, not contributing to this tau, this reducible which we obtained using the atomic orbitals as the basis set, right? So if you do that, you will see that the answer which you will get here is actually 0, right? So that means any combination of SA and SB will not transform as A2 and B2, right? So you cannot combine this in any forms so that it will transform as A2 and B2, because A2 and B2 do not contribute to this reducible representation. Okay, so in next class we'll take up more examples of obtaining SALCs, so that we are thorough with this calculation, and we know in our heads and that how to carry out this before we actually go towards chemical bonding. Okay, I think that's all for this class. Thank you very much.